morning. Thank you everyone for being here. I am Afia Sheikh, that's Afia like mafia, and I lead a regional West Coast customer success team at iSpot TV. I am thrilled to be joined on stage today by T-Mobile's Vice President of Media, Kari Marshall, to talk to us about T-Mobile's cross-screen measurement journey. You guys can clap. So T-Mobile has a long-standing partnership with iSpot, going back some 8 years now. And originally, T-Mobile was leveraging iSpot for linear ad measurement and attribution solutions, but over the years has tapped into our cross-screen capabilities to also measure OTT streaming and connected television campaigns. Now, we all know that the TV and video landscape is changing really rapidly, so Kari, can you talk to us a little bit about how T-Mobile has evolved its approach to TV advertising over the years?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here, and this is definitely a topic I have a lot of passion for, and our company as a whole, as we're trying to just progress and advance measurement of video. As we said, we've been using iSpot data and our partnership for quite a while in the linear space, and realizing as consumer behavior has changed, and really during COVID was a seismic shift in that behavior, and then so many new streaming products coming out, just thinking about linear TV was definitely not going to be enough. So excited when iSpot started to introduce streaming video, and we could look at kind of cross-screen measurement in a holistic way. So really, it's become our one platform that has that visibility that we could look at incremental reach. We can look at, helping us analyze some custom metrics to look at performance of our video data. And I feel like we're just getting started.
I agree, definitely an evolution and a journey. So on this evolution, how would you say that partnering with iSpot has progressed that approach to cross-screen marketing?
So I'm lucky to have an internal team also that partners with iSpot to really do custom metrics, because that's really key for us to align how we want to measure our video investment against our business outcomes. It's not just a general KPI that is provided in the industry. So we have a great internal team that has worked and analyzed data alongside iSpot to provide custom metrics that then we can translate, optimize, and steer both linear and OTT investment closer to our business outcomes.
And can you talk a little bit more to us about cross-screen measurement and the custom reporting that you do get from iSpot, how that enables you and your team to make optimizations today?
Yeah, so we use it annually during kind of upfront time, but recently, in the past couple of years really, but being more sophisticated as of recent, looking at steering monthly and quarterly television OTT investments. So we're looking at not just performance against our KPIs that we're optimizing against, but also looking at a lot of the auditing things that we audit, but it takes a while before you truly get an audit of your television buy. So with iSpot, we can get more real-time reporting on buying guidelines, looking at partners that have been adhering to our guidelines or not, looking at performance across not just broad networks, but program level detail, and really steering our video investment on a monthly basis, which a few years ago was impossible for us to do.
Oh, absolutely. Speed is critical.
Yes.
For sure. And before we jump forward, I do want to call out that we are going to be offering Q&A at the end of the session. I should have said that up at the top, but there is an ability to scan the QR code. So if you guys want, go ahead and start to enter in your questions, and we'll be able to take those as time allows towards the end of the session. Please don't be shy on that. You should see that up on the screen. Feel free to ask more questions. But taking us back for a second to kind of beyond the sort of areas of optimization, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about kind of the impact that you had seen, kind of what are key results that those optimizations were able to drive?
Yeah, so we use a multitude of tools to leverage and look at our media performance. One of them is marketing mix model, so nothing new in our industry, historical view, but it's validated that our video investment has been able to maintain over 100% ROI. And while maintaining might not seem like a great thing, but in our world where there's so much fragmentation, the evolution of video has just changed over the course of time. Maintaining over 100% ROI on video has been a huge success. As we look at other channels based on, mixed model and some other, modeling that our data scientists do, the video space with leveraging iSpot data as an assist to help us optimize has really proven successful.
And I think there's one other point in here to talk a little bit about that reach, especially as we're talking about fragmentation and you're starting to look at including more channels and the efforts to be able to maintain that results as you expand.
So also important, T-Mobile, we want to reach everyone in the U.S., right? We have a large base of customers, over 100 million customers, but we're reaching them. We also want to reach everyone else. We have many products and services to reach all customers in the U.S. So finding tools that allow us to understand where we can take some of our frequency and extend that into reach. And allowing us to do that was looking at iSpot data and cross-screen measurement to say, I'm getting a lot of frequency on this program, on this network, in these areas. Now I can diversify it because I'm getting incremental reach in other pockets that maybe I didn't know about as part of our initial buy. So that's been huge. We look at that on a monthly basis. I'm sure our agency partners and team members are looking at it even in more real time because we have access to that data. But finding incremental reach has been, driving a lot of our efficiencies as well.
And speaking to the real-time nature, T-Mobile's leveraging a lot of different data sets from iSpot. I think our ability to deliver at a 24, 48-hour cadence is really critical. Like you'd mentioned before, not having to wait for a reconciliation days, weeks out is very, truly impactful, right? To be able to make optimizations, see an impact for that.
Yep. And we're making optimizations, we're steering, again, we're looking at buying guidelines in more real time, and we use it for competitive too. It's a great tool that we're looking at. There's a lot of competitors out there. We want to know what they're doing, how they're advertising, where are they running their spots. So to have that in a more automated fashion in real time has been great.
Absolutely. So taking a shift for a second from today to tomorrow, what do you see as next, and what do you hope to see come next in the future?
Yeah, I think a big one for us is it's great that we want to reach everyone in the U.S., but we have specific products and services that we know we have growth audiences that we want to reach. It's not about 2+, 18+. It's about specific audiences. We have a home internet business. We have prepaid and postpaid. We have B2B offerings. So that's when audience start to matter more and more. And so I want to understand, this incremental reach or the ROI and the performance against the audiences that we want to penetrate and grow. So I think that advancement, tying it back to business outcomes, is going to be kind of our next stage.
And what would you say would be critical in moving that forward, seeing that be a realization?
It comes back to the right data, right, in a privacy manner. We were talking about the partners that it feels like we're starting to have in place to enable some of that to happen. It also requires, our media partners to give us access to the inventory in platforms that we can decision on, and that we can look at more specific information on impression level data to tie back to business. So, we're partnering. We have a great relationship, kind of three legs of the stool with iSpot, NBCU, and T-Mobile, trying to advance kind of more custom metrics, more sophistication as we think about our data and our buy with NBCU tying back to our business outcomes. So really excited to see some of those results coming in Q4.
I love the tripod, the three-leg stool analogy. Use that all the time. I agree fully that having buy side, sell side, our partnership in the tech measurement space is really critical. We need collaboration across all to want to see kind of the realization of those changes. Now, based on your journey, your team's learnings along the way, what would you say are some key tips of advice you'd give the marketers in the audience today?
Yeah, for us, and it sounds it sounds maybe kind of easy. Let's leverage iSpot data to look at, incremental reach and it's like the manpower behind it is still necessary. So, we have, I mentioned before, an internal team that's set up to help partner with iSpot to mine the data, to analyze it, to do modeling against the business outcomes that we want. So that's really been a key for our success to take advantage of the data. I've talked a little bit about audiences. I think that it matters as we're looking at how do we drive growth for particular audiences in different custom metrics that we use, but also we think about OTT and linear differently across those audiences, right? Some seasonality plays a role. Obviously Q4 is heavy on linear. There's a lot of NFL out there. We're a big advertiser. We invest in linear still. But different audiences tend to skew more in the streaming space.
Right.
And so our ability to understand the composition of not just inventory sources, but platforms across the audiences is key. So really understanding the audience. We're not just shifting inventory into digital or shifting to OTT because, right? It's based on the audiences that we're going after. And then, thinking about iSpot, we have a great partnership, but it's one of our tools, right? We have MMM, we have, back to our internal team that's doing, a lot of, proprietary modeling itself to help us understand business lift and incrementality of our buys across, different pockets of our ecosystem. And so it's nice to see when you have partners and signals that are all kind of pointing you in the right direction. You're really able to take more risk and bigger bets versus one data point alone.
Increase your confidence, right? Getting multiple signals, and so that you can continue, and hopefully, ideally, that be an ongoing feedback loop to be able to say, as you're making directions, changes, course correction, you continue to leverage those signals and improve and get those results kind of ongoing. And then, you talked a little bit about, the MMM model, that's sort of like a macro view, looking more historically, and you mentioned a couple of different times about optimizations that are kind of being made throughout the year by your team, the steering that's happening. Definitely sounds like there's a place for both, right? It's not an and or an or in your mind.
Yes. It's everything. It's additive. I don't think there's one silver bullet out there that's going to tell you what to do, right? Nothing is going to be perfect. So we're always looking for the additive measurement tools to help us advance in this space. And I think, as we grow in sophistication in more of this real-time data, then you can kind of rely less on the historical data because you have, more confidence in today's modeling capabilities. So it's always going to be a balance, and models do different things and they answer different questions. So it's knowing what models to lean into to help guide what investments.
Absolutely, and things change. There was a thing called the pandemic that happened, and that definitely has an impact, right? So sometimes limiting to look at an historical view only, being able to leverage real-time data and steer campaigns as they flow throughout the year.
And that was a time for us where we knew that the model, we relied less on the model during COVID, right? Because what we did in the past was definitely not what we're going to do today or the next month or maybe even the next year. It had changed. And so we actually had to we were rebuilding our model during that time. And then you look at the recency of the model, you can't use 3 years ago because that definitely didn't inform anything. But we leaned on other data sources, consumer behavior, partner information, real-time data. We leaned more into that to make decisions, and it allowed us to kind of leapfrog what the model was telling us to go do.
Makes sense. Take advantage of both macro and micro approaches. And then before we kind of jump to see if there's questions from the audience, I do want to ask, obviously we're in Q4, heavy in planning for 2023 coming year. As you and your team are planning for next year, what are kind of your key priorities?
Measurement.
Big one.
It's a big one. This has been a theme this whole week, but it's been, a theme at T-Mobile for a while. It starts to feel, though, we're having more like-minded, products and capabilities and partners that are kind of aiming to hopefully go in the same direction that we want to go.
Yes.
We know that we're not going to boil the ocean, so looking at use cases to help us advance and then scale is a huge priority. And then, as I've also mentioned, like team and people are a priority. We need, the right talent. We need, the right internal team and agency partners. Keeping and retaining our good talent is critical for the success of this venture.
Yeah, and one of the key tips you have here is about building internal setups. So that speaks very well to it's, having a good partner and having the data set is great, but having the resources in place to be able to capitalize on that, right? Building in those models, continuing to refine them, having people and processes in place to be able to steer campaigns using that data equally so. Yeah, absolutely. So I know we have about 10 odd minutes or so in the chat group here. I'm going to see if anyone has any questions. Or honestly, if you don't want to scan through, if anyone wants to raise up their hands and ask a couple of questions, also I can kind of point and see. Because it'll be a little hard to see the screen here. I'm going to take a stab. I think there's a couple of questions that I see. So given latest privacy restrictions and policies, how do you feel about cross-screen attribution and measurement? Is there more that you want to expand on that? Just kind of, it's actually something we were talking about a little prior this morning as we were getting ready about just the nature of privacy and compliance and what does that mean in terms of data sets and partners that you want to work with. So.
Yeah,
any thoughts on that?
And I'll toss it to you too to talk about some of your partnerships that iSpot has. But a critical factor as we're looking at privacy for sure. And I think maybe that's what's one of the things that has been, hindering our ability to really advance thinking about measuring the investments directly to our business outcomes, because that would require us to kind of pass over data that we're not comfortable with passing over. And so I think that there are more solutions that we're starting to feel more confident in of being able to share our data sets. We do it with other partners, but again, it's in pockets. We leverage some partners to look at business lift based on campaigns and some holdout groups. Would love to start doing that with iSpot also. As capabilities advance and we can truly look at business lift, but the privacy has to be enabled for us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anyone, if you're not familiar with iSpot, really our core syndicated measurement or attribution is really built to be in a compliant manner. We are not holding a PII, and we're able to provide results looking at lift, looking at conversion, reach and frequency measurement across the different screens in a scalable and real-time manner. But obviously, as landscape continues to evolve, there's challenges in terms of regulations or obfuscation of IP and such that we are continuing to navigate. We are kind of proactively looking at methodologies as well as partnerships, based on the needs of our partners and our clients to be able to either flow data, have acceptance data, and handling that in a compliant manner to continue to provide that level of measurement and attribution we have to date. And I see another question that's asked, are you looking at national level data, or also does it get to regional and local? And I think that question might be for iSpot, or it might be for you as well. So I'll let you, and I can speak to it.
I would say that when we think about our optimization and steering, we're using iSpot more at the national level right now. But we do access the local data to understand some activity that's happening, and I would imagine that's becoming more of a priority. And as iSpot's building out more of the capabilities on the local level, we'll probably start leveraging that further.
Historically, I would say for iSpot National has definitely been our core focus for everything in the syndicated products we offer. But on the back end with our massive smart TV panel, we are essentially seeing impressions all across 210 media markets. So we have coverage across local as well as regional and national, and we are surfacing that in different reporting solutions, dashboard-based, as well as you mentioned, kind of custom solutions. So we are able to support national advertisers as they are running regional and local buys, and are continuing to refine our capabilities so that we have sort of parity in what we're providing for national, for local and addressable as well. But I think the big glooming topic for all of us is cross-screen, and definitely a big focus for us in our product evolution at iSpot to offer more capabilities around cross-screen measurement and attribution. And then it looks like we got one more coming in. Thank you all for the questions flowing. Within your modeling and measurement, have you seen specific demos driving higher results in video? For example, P18 to 34, seeing a higher ROI versus like 35 to 54, 55 plus.
Yeah, we don't really look at it by demo. Our audiences are not demo based. And any specific information that we might get back on the ROI of our audience is more based on kind of, I wouldn't say a one-off, but it has more intention to be analyzed that way at a mass level and on a consistent level. We're not looking at the ROI based on demos, but I think that that's the opportunity for us because we're doing a lot of our planning based on audiences. Right. We're doing kind of our buying and the transactions based on demos, and then the measurement is kind of still all up. And so I think that's where we start to need to carry that bridge into planning, where we're using, some large data sets and being, smart about who we're going to go reach and target. It's not translating all the way down to the measurement side, and I think that's where we need to start pushing.
Definitely more work to be done to be able to see consistency right throughout the entire media cycle. As you said, a lot of sophistication, data sets, planning involved on that planning. So how do we see that kind of flow through through the transactions and then the posting, the measurement afterwards? So that's the dream to strive for. And I will open up. I think we addressed the last question. Do we have any others coming in? Yes, one more has come up on screen. Thank you. How do you consider upper funnel KPIs relative to lower funnel outcomes when matching media buying decisions or optimizations? That's a good one. Upper funnel versus lower funnel.
Yeah. So we're looking at our brand tracker, which is definitely upper funnel, but that is less frequent of data, right? That only comes in once a quarter, so it's more of a broader steering versus true optimizations. Our model, again, broader steering, but our mixed model does take into account kind of decay of when we talk about, our network communication versus a offer that we have in market to drive conversion. So we consider that in our shorter term KPIs, we are monitoring, and it's interesting, some of our messages that we put out in the market that is more about, our brand benefits. We have, amazing travel benefits. We have, largest 5G network. We're talking about much bigger things than going to a retail store today. Those also tend to perform really well on the lower funnel metrics, surprisingly enough. So we're still looking and monitoring at all metrics, but we know the role of them and what they play in the market is different.
Okay, it looks like we actually got several more. So just keeping an eye on time, we have about 5 more minutes. Anyone wants to get some last questions, and now's the time.
I have a question.
So can you expand on your business outcome test with iSpot and NBCU? What outcomes are you measuring? And are you buying against like digital, football, et cetera? It's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, so our partnership, I would say, is at the beginning stages with thinking about leveraging more granular NBCU data within iSpot platform. But that will start allowing us to start changing the conversations of our video buy, getting away from TRPs and getting into impressions, thinking about cross screens. So, our goal is to, eventually not worry about any TRPs in the flow chart, right? That currency needs to change and evolve, and it starts with the right partners and the right environments that we can measure, thinking about impressions. So we're getting started there, monitoring it closely, and hopefully next year, our conversations with NBC will change into different type of guarantees.
And I'll mention a couple of points from iSpot's side. Absolutely very excited about our partnership with NBCU. They are one, not the only, of several partnerships on the media side that we are excited about as we continue to evolve from sort of the trusted source of audience measurement that brands and our agency partners are relying on for the last several years to being that transactable audience currency. And lots of work on all sides being done, kind of to your earlier point about how key is collaboration right across the sides of brand and sell, as well as tech partnerships to kind of move that entire new currency world forward. So lots happening there. There's actually been a ton of campaigns run earlier in the year, as well as going from Q4 into 2023. So we're very excited about that. Hopefully you'll continue to hear from us and share results as we work on those tests and live campaigns. And I think on one other question, where do you see the measurement industry in the next year? Great question.
Well, I have higher hopes than I think our industry is able to move, maybe not quite as fast. It feels, and we were just talking about this also, my perspective is things are moving fast, but a different perspective is maybe it's running fast underneath, but the results and like our decision making based on some of these new advancements are still slow to come. There's just a lot of work to get done to set up more automation, access the data. The privacy component is critical,
Right.
And we're starting to do it in just pockets of our buy still. So again, NBCU is one of our partners, but we have to start somewhere. And so my hope as we think about next year is expanding what we're doing and leveraging the iSpot data and thinking about impression guarantees across the video ecosystem more broadly and being able to tie that, at least correlate it back closer to our business. That is the goal. Right now, just thinking about measuring, reach and frequency of our video within against TRPs is just not enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the analogy we were discussing was a duck in water, where it's calm and slowly moving, but lots of paddling happening underneath, talking about all the work that's involved across all sides to enable that transactability on new currencies. I think I kind of spoke a little bit about that, about the whole wheel of media cycle. So I'll jump forward. Any last questions?
Hello.
And I think we're winding down on time. That was
Good
cut off the
morning,
question
ladies.
there.
Thank you so much for showing up. My name is Michael Salat. I'm at Innovid, and my question is for Kari. I wanted to know from your perspective, if you back up the fruit cart to before, implementing iSpot, what was the decisioning process, and how did you manage the silos? And what advice do you have for marketers that are really trying to lean into these new measurement opportunities, but are feeling challenged either by the relationships with the agency, or just who handles analytics, who handles media, who is responsible for this? How did you get it done?
Yeah, it's a great question. It wasn't always easy. And before iSpot and the data that we had there, I would say it was passive, and it was just long leg times, right? We still did auditing, and we still do auditing today, but the auditing is like done a year ago. That doesn't help me make decisions and hold our TV partners accountable next month when I'm not getting the data for 12 months. And so we were still doing some of the activities, but it was based on data that didn't have the recency impact that we needed to steer and optimize real term. And as we know, the media landscape and consumer behavior is changing too quickly. So relying on data that is that far back, it wasn't impactful. I think internally, again, having a team and some really smart people focused on analyzing media data to help inform media decisioning was critical. And that had to move beyond having, the
specific media analytics team.
Yeah.
And you drove it, not any outside.
So we had, it was a combination at first, but yes, we do it internally. So right now we do that internally. It's led internally. We're using agency partners as an extension of that team. So when our analytics team needs kind of consulting or more arms and legs and more analysts, we tap into our agency partners to help us with that. So we do have extensions outside of our walls. And internally, it was a journey also, right? To get someone that is a data scientist mining data to translate that thinking into media talk, right? That's a bridge that is sometimes difficult to overcome. They're kind of can get tunnel vision on the data itself, but the application for a practitioner was a journey to kind of get to where we are today.
I do know that we're at time. I will say I loved our conversation. This was great. Thank you so much, Kari.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the time, attention, and the flow of questions. Please join me in thanking Kari Marshall for speaking with us today.